Marv, and it's not a month and a half since the last time I posted. You read the title, so you know what's going on. We are doing a brief look into my gouache painting process. I've had this footage for a little bit of a time, maybe a couple of months. If you follow me on Instagram, or if you're like a part of my Facebook peoples or whatever, probably even TikTok actually, you would have already seen these paintings, but I'm just going to tell you basically what I did to achieve that look. I tend to sketch out my drawings, as you saw before, on little cards of paper. That way I can move my subjects around if there is more than one. If not, I'll just go ahead and sketch it on the paper. This way I can orient them multiple times without having to redraw it, because I'm lazy. Who wants to work harder, work smarter, you guys, you know? And then, so once I get them oriented the way that I want, I don't know why I have such a hard time with that word. Once I get them oriented the way that I want, I will go ahead and lay down some background. In this case, I just used some watercolor splashes to give the illusion of a background, because I wasn't asked to do a real one, so why would I? No, I'm joking. I don't know, I didn't know what to put in the background, so I just did bust because that's what was requested. And I use a coal erase pencil for that. And when you pick a coal erase pencil for something like this, make sure you pick the warmth accordingly to your color palette. That way when it does run or smudge, it doesn't ruin your colors and make them muddy. After that, I began to lay down my darker values. As a rule of thumb, I like to work from my second lightest value to my second darkest value. That way I don't have to try to fix my color or adjust my color scheme when the gouache does inevitably dry down that different color, whichever way it may swing. When it does dry, that is a characteristic of gouache, and you just have to learn how to work around it, which is why I suggest you do that if you decide to work with this medium. Also with gouache, it's very easy to have a color that looks great when it is wet, but once it dries it looks muddy because you use too many, you mix too many of the wrong colors, or too many of colors that aren't complementary to each other, that don't complement one another. And to avoid this, I would suggest to use, I would say, 4 to 5 colors that are similar to one another, that will give you the desired values that you're looking for. I used a couple of pre-mixed colors from the holbien. I don't know, it's not a set, so I'll put them in the description box for you, the ones that I did wash, because I have it written down for you. And I am, if you're wondering how I'm getting this fluffy effect with the brush, I'm just using these short, chubby little, rice-shaped strokes to create this illusion of denser fur. I didn't want to sit down and draw each and every hair, which I don't suggest. Even if you wanted to, don't do it. Just give the illusion of doing so. I just use these rice-shaped grain strokes to make the fur, and yeah, the rest is kind of like paint by numbers. When creating the whiskers, I initially started with the brush that I was using for the rest of it, because I couldn't find my really thin brush, and it was really frustrating me that my whiskers weren't penciled thin, hairline thin. So I ended up going in with a really sharp colored pencil to give those lines definition, and to make some, separate from that, so that it would look like a cluster of whiskers instead of a mistake. My hand was really shaky that day, I'm guessing, because these lines are not where it's at. And so you'll also see me in a few cases add some other colors. I think I used brown on the other cat, and probably some green to just give the eyes more definition, as well as the noses where they have the texture. Just showing you some of the finishing touches on this. As a heads up, I wouldn't suggest to make, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but to make the decision that I made to not make the entire background one particular color, because when you have a subject like this cute little orange cat that has a lot of white fur, there's not very much room to play around with your lighter values. I ended up having to make an off-white color for definition and going back with brighter white to give the illusion of white fur, instead of being able to use a light color and just giving it depth like you would on a mid-tone paper. Yeah, in the future I probably wouldn't do that again, but I wasn't thinking about it before I started. So, you know, as a heads up, so you don't make the same like choices that I make. Overall, I think this took me about maybe 2 hours to complete. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know. Leave me a comment, a like, a subscribe, or catch me on any other social media. You can find me everywhere as Marvageddon, or regular Marv if you look hard enough. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you. Happy creating. Bye!